are some people here who involve themselves in sports which seem to a lot of people to be too dangerous. Now, let's talk about, for example, bungee jumping. You do that, yes?
Let's talk about bungee jumping, yes.
Now, we have got, in case people don't know what bungee jumping is like, we've got some film of that. And to me, this is one of the most incomprehensible sports I've ever seen. Look at that. I mean...
If you'd said that to me a year ago, I would have agreed with you, probably. I think the thing about bungee jumping is it is actually not a dangerous sport. In this country at the moment, it's a very safe sport. I think about 250,000 are estimated to have bungee jumped, and there's been one fatality, which was a heart attack from someone who had a history of heart problems and had been advised not to jump anyway.
How often have you bungee jumped?
Between 50 and 80 times. I would never have done anything dangerous up to a year ago. I got into bungee jumping more by accident than anything else. Someone needed someone to make up the numbers for a discount. I've never been so utterly terrified. Never been so utterly terrified in my life as when I was about to jump. But then I had a feeling I've never had before. Before I did that, just total exhilaration, this adrenaline rush, and I'm hooked. And of course now what I want to do is do more. I want to do more distances. I'm looking at jumping out from a cable car and helicopters. It's just an incredible feeling.
So it is like a rush.
Do you? I'm terrified of heights, and that's part of the adrenaline rush. I know bungee jumping is safe. There is a backup on everything that's tied to me.
Well, not all that safe, is it?
Well, it depends if you're aware of the risks.
What happened to you?
I did a bungee jump for charity coming up 4 years ago. And I blacked out as I left the cage, came to bouncing around in the air. When I came down to the ground, I had burst blood vessels in my eyes. That was only superficial, that was fine. But my vision has been impaired ever since.
So it's not all that safe?
There have been, as I understand it, 3 or 4 cases of people with problems with eyes. I've seen probably 1,000 people jump down at Chelsea Bridge, which is my local club. I've probably seen 3 or 4 people with very bloodshot eyes after a jump. I think it's like people who bruise easily. Yeah. You can't really determine whether it's the bunging that's caused it or there was a problem there which bunging brings to the forefront.
You know what worries me about you? I mean, the bridge isn't tall enough now. I mean, you've got...
No, which is why I'm looking at...
You know, it's like almost any drug. It's got to get more and more and more intense, this feeling.
It does. I still get a good feeling jumping the same distance, but you're right, I want more and more of that intensity. It's just an exhilarating, and to recap to what someone said earlier, it's about living your life on volume 10 as opposed to volume 1.
Is there a limit, Brian? Let me just ask you finally. Do you think that people need not just to try to experience all these extraordinary adventures, as you describe them, but they also should set limits and say, beyond that I won't go? Or do you think that is hampering the human spirit? Do you think you just want to go as far as you possibly can?
I think the sky is the limit. I think that what we are and what we think we are two entirely different things. I think that what we are is quite limitless and we don't explore it enough. I can answer you by saying that I would like this spring to stand on the top of Mount Everest and point to Olympus Mons on Mars, which is a mountain 5 times higher than Mount Everest. We've got to go to the moon, got to go to Mars, got to get out there. New forms of theatre, new forms of Olympic, new forms of art. We need young people, young in heart. As we approach the year 2000, there's a fear of the year 2000. We don't have a motto for it. It's like a dark abyss out there. We've got to burst the bubble and get out and let the earth rest. We need young adventurers, young in heart, young and old.
James, if one day the kids grow up, your children grow up, and one of them turns to you and says, Dad, why did she do it? Why did our mum take this incredible risk? What will you say to them?
For the short period that she was the mother of Kate and a longer period for Tom, she gave them everything she had. And I think they will, in latter life, realise that they had a very special mum, even if it was only for a short period. She knew that she wanted to climb her mountains. Her mountains happened to be big, pointed, rocky, ice-clad things. She did that, she did it superbly, and she has touched lives throughout the world. And she's enabled other people to learn how to climb their mountains. And to me, that probably is the ultimate epitaph anybody can have.
Well, James, thank you very, very much for explaining to us not only what was motivating Alison, but I think what motivates a great many other people here in the studio. And you've enabled us to share it. So thank you for telling us your stories. They say that appearing on television is quite a dangerous sport. If so, you've survived it brilliantly. Thank you so much for joining us at home. Until next time, from us all, goodbye.
And the next time, of course, will be tomorrow at 5 when Esther's joined by theatre critic Jack Tinker discussing the people we'd love to hate.